Cyberpunk 2077, one of the most, if not the most, hyped up game of 2020. We were promised a really fucking awesome dystopian game with a lot of cool graphics, a lot of cool story, and a pretty unique story at that. But that is not what happened upon launch. The launch, for lack of a better term, pretty much went ass up. Things were not as expected. The game itself was full of a ton of glitches. There were borderline unplayable missions for, this, that, and the third reason. There were a lot of visual glitches and graphical issues. So the game was pretty much rendered unplayable for the majority of people. But the people who suffered this worse was people who played on PlayStation. The game suffered badly enough and was bad enough for people on PlayStation that it was literally pulled from the PlayStation Store. Sony pulled it. They didn't want to keep selling a game that was rendered broken and giving so much dissatisfaction to the people that bought it. So they pulled it from the store and they offered people refunds. That's borderline unheard of as far as I know. The entire company pulled this game out of their store and offered, I think, everyone who bought it refunds. And I believe Xbox did the same thing in terms of refunds as well. They didn't pull it from their store, but I believe they also offered a ton of people, if not everyone who bought it upon launch, refunds for it. So because the game was pulled, CD Projekt knew they fucked up. And they fucked up bad. Now, before I get too far into the video, I want to explain what Cyberpunk is for the people that may not know who just stumbled upon this video. For those who don't know what Cyberpunk 2077 is, it's pretty much a free roam game based in the future. It's very dystopian, very much what society will be like in a number of years, as a lot of sci-fi oriented things are. So you basically live out the life of V, a merc who is living in Night City, and you're pretty much beating people's asses, saving people, and doing everybody's dirty work. But for a price, of course. The main story follows V after they pretty much get shot in the head and left for dead. Some weird shit goes down. I'm not going to spoil it, but some weird shit goes down for V, and we basically get to play as them and go through the life of what it's like to be in Night City. Cyberpunk 2077 as a whole really amplifies the things in society that are not the best. So it takes the themes of sex, drugs, money-hungry greed, and pretty much amples them by 1,000 to give us an incredibly wild ride full of sex, robotically enhanced body parts, drugs, money-hungry villains, and this, that, and the third. Now, back to the original point of this video. So here we are, 8 months after Cyberpunk has come out. It's been 8 months, right? Okay, 8 or 9 months, whatever. It's been like 9 months since the game came out. And of course, you're probably wondering why I'm making this video 8 months after this game came out. It's because I'm broke. I couldn't afford it until it hit the clearance racks temporarily, alright? Fuck off. Before I made this video, Cyberpunk really didn't have a ton of hype around it anymore, other than the fact that there's now a new patch for the game, and Project Red has hired some of its best modders directly from the community to work on the game, which could be really sick for us, because that could offer a lot of fixes to the game, and just some badass content from these people who are so good at modding the game in general. So I'm late to the game. I always am with any new content that's released, especially video games. That shit is expensive. I was actually pretty excited for Cyberpunk as well when it came out. Though I didn't know a ton about it and I didn't know that it was anticipated for so long, I thought it was cool. Like, I watched the trailers, I saw everything that came out when it was about to come out, so honestly, I almost pre-ordered it with some leftover money. Kinda glad I didn't. Thankfully, for my wallet, I found Cyberpunk at Best Buy for 10 bucks, I think. For reference, that game is, and all new games, are typically $59.99-ish. That's before tax. So you can bet your ass I bought it when I saw it was 10 bucks. Now, before I actually started playing the game, I didn't really know the full extent of what was wrong with it. I knew that there were some glitches with it, and I knew that people were not happy about it, but I didn't know it was, like, broken as fuck. I basically just said fuck it, and I was like, I get to play a cool game that is still pretty new, so I'm just gonna play it and hope for the best. And I was honestly pleasantly surprised. So anyone who has played or is playing Cyberpunk right now is probably asking the question, why the hell are you taking so long to play the game? I know, there's only about 30 hours of main story. I'm taking my time, alright? I spend a little bit too much trying to get that shmoney. Now, my first time sitting down to play the game was about 8 hours long. Real hot gamer shit, I know. Cyberpunk starts out with a lot of character customization, and you basically get to pick the backstory for your character, which is V. I chose the corporate route, so I'm pretty much a burnt-out corporate employee, because what corporate employee isn't burnt out? V accepts a job that is a tad more than shady, and things go to shit. And I won't go into details, but by the end of it, he's left with nothing. Literally nothing. They take everything from him, including all of his money, everything he has. And with the help of your best friend named Jackie, you basically turn into the badass merc you are in the game as a whole. You're promptly greeted with a life of shooting shit up, making more shmoney, and saving people from a lot of sick fucks in Night City. After the first main mission, they pretty much let you roam Night City, but it's only your small corner of Night City, because everything else is blocked off. They frame it as the city is in a lockdown, so you are stuck to this one little corner of Night City where you live. You're given a chance to play a lot of the side missions, but you do always have the option to play the main story. And I'm actually really glad they included the fact that you could play side missions in the very beginning, because this is exactly how the rest of the game is, and I honestly appreciate the fact that they set a realistic expectation for the entire game. So of course, me being me, I couldn't just stick to the main story. I had to play all the side missions. Now at this point, for anyone who has played video games, or honestly has watched a movie, you would think I would get that sweet, sweet title card by now, right? You'd think that I'd have that awesome little cutscene with the title card, maybe some badass music, maybe a little action reel of our character. Folks, I did not hit that cutscene until after 8 hours of gameplay, and I'm pretty sure I could have taken longer had I done every single side mission before that. Now honestly, for me, this made me hype as fuck for the rest of the game, because if the story was that interesting before the game even officially started, I couldn't imagine what it was going to be for the rest of the game. And I was really excited to see what happened after that. And I'm not the most well-versed in video games, but a video game has never, or even any other type of media that has a title card, has never taken me 8 hours to get to. But I wasn't mad about it. Despite the fact that I have really enjoyed Cyberpunk so far, I can't gloss over the issues that I've had, because I have had some. While not as catastrophic and literally broken as it has been for just about everyone else who played the game before these 8 months, I've still experienced some issues with it. So the two biggest issues that I've experienced are with phone calls getting stuck on the screen after I accept them, especially while driving or running or moving in general, and issues with dialogue. Now, sometimes the dialogue doesn't load properly for me. So say V says something, and he's obviously talking to someone. This other person takes an uncomfortably long amount of time to respond. But because there was a pause in V's dialogue, the game thinks that that person spoke. So, it goes back to V. When it goes back to V, that person starts talking. So, they're basically just talking over each other, and no one can understand each other. And thankfully, I've had subtitles on this entire time, because I'm just the type of person that needs subtitles in a video game. But I can obviously see why that's an issue and why a lot of people wouldn't want to deal with that. Other than those two issues, I've noticed just normal glitches, some lag, and the game stutters occasionally just trying to catch up with itself, especially when you're doing a faster moving thing. But that's only very occasionally. That doesn't happen very often. Even with the glitches, I've really liked the game itself. They haven't been enough to deter me from playing it whatsoever. And I've played more than those 24 hours. I haven't been invested in a story-driven game in a really long time, so this is honestly refreshing for me, even with the issues the game has faced. And I'm really excited to see what's in store for the actual story itself, since I haven't even finished the main story, and what's in store for the next patches that are coming in the game, and what'll happen with these new modders that have been added to staff. And honestly, it's just a unique story. I'm playing that whole thing. And honestly, I've liked it enough that I've considered playing it again for two reasons, and that would be to play the other two backstory options, and to do a 100% completion playthrough because I have never done that with a video game once. And I kind of want my first one to be from Cyberpunk. I'm just a tad bit obsessed with it. So honestly, even though it has had a lot of issues, I'm honestly excited to see what happens from here. I like Cyberpunk for what it is. A pretty sweet-ass game, albeit a little broken. So here's the future of Cyberpunk 2077.